Hello, I'm Thomas Porteous and you're watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top stories this hour. We start off in the Gulf, and French President Emmanuel Macron announced that France will build a new aircraft carrier, formally launching the program to replace the Charles de Gaulle. Macron made the announcement while celebrating Christmas with French troops stationed in Abu Dhabi. The future carrier is expected to enter service in 2038 and will ensure continuity of France's ability to project air power at sea. Let's take a listen in.
À l'heure des prédateurs, nous devons être forts pour être craints, et en particulier forts sur les mers. Voilà pourquoi, conformément aux 2 dernières lois de programmation militaire, et après un examen complet et minutieux, j'ai décidé de doter la France d'un nouveau porte-avions. La décision de lancer en réalisation ce très grand programme a été prise.
We move on now, but stay in West Asia. And Christians from the 3 villages in northwestern Syria have lit up the Christmas tree at the St. Joseph's Church in Quanaya, celebrating for the first time since the jihadist groups left the area. The rebels captured areas in 2012, followed by the jihadist groups, including fighters from Hayat Yahya al-Sham, now the defunct Islamist group that led last year's offensive that ousted Bashar al-Assad. Now Syria's new leaders have sought to break from their radical Islamist past and present a more moderate image as appealing to ordinary Syrians and the international community. Let's listen in to what some villagers had to say.
بهالسنوات ال14 ما حسنا نزين، ما حسنا نحتفل بالميلاد خارج الكنيسة بسبب المضايقات، بسبب البيئة ما كانت تسمح بهذا الشيء. هلا رجعنا طلعنا الزينة بعد التحرير، بعد هالسنة الجديدة طلعنا الزينة القديمة وجددناها بهالأنواع.
ممنوع نطلع لبرا مثلا نعيد نزين برا، مثلا نطلع بالخفية نعيد الأقرباء يعني والأهل. ما كان له معنى العيد، كان يوم مثل هالأيام يعني يوم عادي علينا، بس هالسنة لمة الأهل بعد 14 سنة وصرنا فينا منزين، صار عنا حرية أكثر، الأمور صارت أطيب وأحلى.
منعونا نحطوا صلبان شيون شلناهم كلياتهم، وهالسنة أول سنة بلشنا نرجع نعيدهم. كنا ممنوع نعيد أو نحتفل أو يبين علينا أي احتفالات.
We move on next to the Palestinian territories, and Jerusalem's Latin Patriarch, Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa, arrived in Gaza on Friday to celebrate Christmas Mass at the Holy Family Church, the Palestinian territory's only Roman Catholic church. His office said the visit reaffirms the enduring bond between the parish and the wider diocese of the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. During his stay, Pizzaballa will review ongoing humanitarian aid, rehabilitation efforts in the Gaza Strip, and lead an anticipated Christmas Mass on Sunday. During his previous visit in July, he delivered 500 tons of food to residents affected by Israeli restrictions on goods entering the territory. The visit comes after Israeli fire hit the Holy Church, killing 3 people, while a famine declared in Gaza in August has officially ended. The United Nations warns that the food situation remains critical. Gaza's 2.2 million residents include about 1,000 Christians, with 135 Catholics under the Latin Patriarch, many of whom sought shelter in the church compound during the conflict.
It was important to be here according to our tradition, to be here for our Christmas, to celebrate together with our community the festivity of Christmas. This is my 4th visit after the beginning of the war, and I saw a difference this time.
هاي زيارتي الرابعة من بداية الحرب ولاحظت فرق.
I saw the new desire of a new life. It's time now to look forward and to rebuild all what has been devastated.
We move on now, and Israelis gathered in Tel Aviv demanding accountability for the October the 7th attacks. Protesters called on the government to set up a state commission of inquiry. They say Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has refused to take responsibility. Some demonstrators urged Netanyahu to resign, saying he was in power when the attack happened. The protests also focused on the last slain Israeli hostage, Ran Gilviri, whose body has not yet been retrieved from the Gaza Strip. His return is seen as key to a US-brokered ceasefire plan aimed at securing peace between Israel and Hamas. Protesters vow to keep rallying until Gilviri is brought home. Let's take a listen in to what some of the protesters had to say.
I came here to protest because the government is non-democratic and wants to appoint their investigating for the massacre that they are responsible for, and we cannot suffer something like this because this is will make us a fascist country.
This is like maybe the last chance we have to stay like Israel, like as a modern country, like a Western country, and not to be a country of just taking care to the people that are close to you politically.
It's unprecedented in all disasters that hit Israel, that always there was an independent committee. And now suddenly the government is refusing it. And it makes no sense.
We move on now, and Israeli President Isaac Herzog has been joined by members of the Australian Jewish community in Jerusalem, where the victims of the deadly Bondi Beach Hanukkah shooting have been remembered during a candle lighting ceremony. It has been said by President Herzog that the pain and shock felt in Australia is being shared in Israel, as calls have been renewed for stronger action against anti-Semitism. 15 people were killed and dozens wounded in the December the 14th shooting, now confirmed as the country's deadliest since 1996. A review of Australia's intelligence and law enforcement agencies has been announced by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese amid concerns over security failures, while the surviving suspect remains in custody and the investigation into terrorism links continue. Let's listen in to what Herzog had said.
On the 8th final candle of Hanukkah, I want to say to the Jews of Australia, the people of Israel are with you. Despite thousands of miles being apart, we feel your pain, we see your courage. Under fire, we share your sense of abandonment, shock, and horror. Here in Jerusalem, we heard your hearts beat and break, and felt our own hearts steeped with grief. In each nation, combating anti-Semitism requires very strong and tough measures and strong leadership. It requires ordinary people rejecting lies and bias, embracing diversity, humanity, and truth. The Australian heroes who intervened and came to the rescue at Bondi, who came to pay their respects, will forever be remembered for their kindness and courage.
זה הפועל יוצא של הסתה מתמשכת ושל נרמול השנאה כלפינו היהודים. כאשר ממשלה, רשויות וכוחות אכיפה באוסטרליה, באנגליה ובמקומות רבים בעולם מאפשרות בשם חופש הביטוי תהלוכות שבהן נשמעות קריאות מחרידות נגד ישראל ונגד היהודים. זו איננה מחאה, זה ציד של יהודים. כאשר ממשלת אוסטרליה מעלימה עין מההסתה ההולכת וגוברת, וכאשר במקביל היא מקדמת מהלכים מדיניים חד צדדיים שאינם תורמים לפיוס אלא מלבים קיטוב. כשהיא מחרימה שרים ומנהיגים ישראלים, אל להיות מופתעת כשהשנאה גולשת מן השוליים אל מרכז הרחוב ומתורגמת מן הדיבור אל המעשה האלים הנפשע.
We move on now, and a strong message of defiance has been delivered at Bondi Beach to mark 1 week since the deadly attack that killed 15 people. During the Hanukkah commemoration, where thousands have gathered, Jewish leaders called for federal royal commission, saying the scale of the violence demanded a national response. The bravery of Ahmed al-Ahmed, who disarmed one of the gunmen, was praised, and it was said the community would not be silenced or live in fear. Criticism was voiced over the Prime Minister's absence and lack of engagement with victims. A minute's silence was observed at the exact time the attack began, under heavy police presence. Despite grief and anger, leaders have stressed resilience, declaring the community would not be silenced or driven into fear. Let's listen into what some of the local people had said.
Yeah, look, there are lots of people we know who have been affected directly. I personally was at a different Hanukkah event where we were told to get down, ran with my 2-year-old, told my mother to run, which was of course terrifying, but that terror lasted, I don't know, a few minutes, whereas the people who are at this Hanukkah event, the terror hasn't ended. Walking here is scary. Having to have such a police presence is, while comforting, is also not the way we want to live. And I'd also just say we've been feeling scared for the last 2 years. And I think we were sadly expecting something like this to happen and devastated that it did.
It's a small community, so everybody knows somebody who knows, so. But even not knowing somebody, the fact that this can happen, in a country like Australia is totally unsatisfactory. Our Prime Minister has not been great. He has not been present. He has not been attending any synagogues or visiting any people who are sick in hospital. But he's got his own agenda, and I think it's very sad.
I see a huge shock to the whole community. We've all come together and we've brought together mental health organisations, and I'm volunteering as a counsellor at a pharmacy nearby, just helping out the community. It's been quite lovely seeing every nationality come together and bring flowers and just being very supportive generally. So in a way it's been really horrific, but on the other hand I don't feel alone in this, which is something which I think is really important. I see a huge shock to the whole community. We've all come together and we've brought together mental health organisations, and I'm volunteering as a counsellor at a pharmacy nearby, just helping out the community. It's been quite lovely seeing every nationality come together and bring flowers and just being very supportive generally. So in a way it's been really horrific, but on the other hand I don't feel alone in this, which is something which I think is really important.
Hundreds of people have gathered at Bondi Beach in Australia to mark 1 week since the 2 gunmen shot and killed 15 people at a Hanukkah event. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is also present at the vigil, which has begun with the lighting of a single candle followed by a minute of silence. Meanwhile, the security at the event is tight. The beach area has larger police presence than usual, including some policemen carrying rifles. Members of the public who did not have tickets to the vigil are also being turned away. Let's in fact listen in to what some attendees have said.
It's still really difficult to understand what's been happening. I guess the tears still have to flow at some point, but it just is very hard to know that all of those things are happening around the world as well. And that is very concerning to me. And I personally feel very strongly about the fact that, especially being German, that this has happened in history before, and that this cannot happen again.
Every day we hear of somebody else that's connected. It's a small community, and we all know someone who lost their life. A rabbi that I used to work with very much the great synagogue lost his brother-in-law, Rabbi Eli Schlanger. And so it goes on. It touches all of us very, very deeply. My husband is a Holocaust survivor, and his dear mother many years ago said to me, anti-Semitism will never go away. And I said to her, darling, you're wrong. This is Australia. I've grown up here. I've never experienced anti-Semitism. And I don't think it's possible that it would be like that again. And here I am thinking, thank God she has not lived to see what's happened. It would have destroyed her completely.
We move over to the sporting world now, and Australia have wrapped up the Ashes in emphatic fashion, sealing a 82-run win over England on day 5 of the third test to take an unassailable 3-0 lead in the series. Chasing a world record target of 435 at the Adelaide Oval, England battled deep into the second session but were eventually bowled out for 352. Mitchell Starc led the charge with 3 key wickets as Australia ground down a stubborn resistance. Scott Boland claimed the final wicket just before tea to end the contest. The result means England have now lost the Ashes in 3 matches for the 4th straight tour of Australia, continuing a dismal run down under. Despite pre-series talk of a genuine contest and hopes around Bazball, England were comprehensively outplayed. Alex Carey was named player of the match, while Travis Head's commanding century earlier in the test laid the foundation for victory. Let's listen in to what both captains had said following the third test match.
I mean, yeah, it's great. You know, there's so much hype coming into the series, and you never really know how it's going to play out. So, you know, winning 3-0's hugely satisfying for many reasons, but you know, particularly, I think you know a lot of the you know chat before the series is how evenly poised it's going to be, and you know, to win it in straight sets, it doesn't get much better than that. Absolutely. You know, particularly the amount of work I've had to do to kind of get up to speed in Test match cricket. You just want to play everything now. Boxing Day is a huge test. Sydney's a home ground, you know, huge test. You just want to keep it rolling on, but yeah, probably need to be somewhat pragmatic at times. So, but yeah, you know, we've goal solely on winning this series. So we'll save this for a few days, and no doubt when we get closer to Boxing Day, people start thinking, okay, it would be pretty cool if we can, you know, go up 4-0 and hopefully then in Sydney do it 5-0.
I think there's a lot of stuff that, as a team, as I said at the start of this, that we can actually take forward with us for the remaining games and into the future for other series that we've got. Yeah, so obviously it's pretty emotional time for me in the dressing room and the guys, you know, players, management, backroom staff. But yeah, when we sort of, you know, get ourselves together and, you know, speak about the game and, you know, what we need to do in the remaining games here, I think we will take a lot out of this game and sort of go, you know, this is how we can, you know, maybe apply ourselves to give us a better chance of being a much more consistent cricket team. And yeah, we've not been able to stand up to what Australia have thrown at us. You know, all the training, all the hours that we've put into, you know, our efforts building up to the series in Australia, even before in Australia, all the hours of, you know, grafting in indoor schools and all that kind of stuff that we do. It's what you do out there that matters the most. And yeah, we've not been able to stand up to the barrage of, you know, execution from Australia.
We move on now to Southeast Asia, and more than 500,000 people in Cambodia have been forced from their homes after 2 weeks of deadly border clashes with Thailand. Cambodia's Interior Ministry says over 518,000 people, including women and children, have fled artillery fire, rockets and airstrikes, including attacks by Thai F-16 jets. Thailand says nearly 400,000 of its people have also been displaced, and at least 22 people have been killed in Thailand and 19 in Cambodia. The fighting involves tanks, drones and heavy artillery, and it centres on a long-running territorial dispute along their 800-kilometre border and ancient temple sites. Both sides blame each other for targeting civilians. Global powers and the United Nations are urging a ceasefire. Let's take a listen in to what some of the people have to say.
ลงมาตอนบ่ายมาตอนบ่าย2 โมงกว่าตรงทุ่งนาเนี่ยไม่ไกลเราอยู่นี้ก็ทั้งชลบทั้งหลายก็ต้องเป็นหูเป็นตาให้ทางตำรวจทหารด้วยที่เรามาเฝ้ากันอยู่ตรงนี้มีเหตุการณ์ลูกปืนตกหรือมีเหตุการณ์อะไรที่มันยังไม่คาดฝันเราก็ต้องรายงานหรือเรียกให้มาตรวจสอบ
We now move on, and Germany has marked the first anniversary of the Magdeburg attack with a solemn commemoration across the country, paying tribute to the victims and standing in solidarity with their families and their loved ones. Ceremonies in Magdeburg brought together national and regional leaders, emergency responders and members of the public for moments of silence, layings of wreaths and reflective addresses honouring those who lost their lives. Let's listen in to what a victim's family member had to say.
Wir alle wollen heute ihrem Schicksal gedenken, ihrem und dem vieler anderer Opfer, die schwer verletzt und für immer gezeichnet sein werden, sowohl körperlich als auch seelisch. Es darf niemals vergessen werden, was für Menschen es waren, die dort drüben auf dem Weihnachtsmarkt ihr Leben durch diese Tat lassen mussten. Darum ist es wichtig, so schwer es mir fällt, heute hier zu stehen, einer der Getöteten ein Gesicht zu geben, meiner Mama.
Ich möchte hoffen, dass für uns alle Trost und Kraft darin liegt, heute gemeinsam zu erinnern und gemeinsam zu trauern. Füreinander da zu sein, für die Opfer dieser Schreckenstat da zu sein. Aber auch Wut und Zorn mit ihnen und miteinander auszuhalten. Auch Wut und Zorn dürfen sein im Auge von grausamen Verbrechen, wie dieses eines war.
The anniversary has not only served as the time to honour victims, but also a reformation of Germany's commitment to democratic values, social cohesion and the protection of peace and security for all its citizens. The German Chancellor Merz has also responded. Let's take a listen in. Okay. With that, it's a wrap on this episode of The Newsroom. Keep watching NewsX World for more international updates.